I welcome you all to the Crypto Singh Show, and my name is Gunpreet Singh, and we talk about Bitcoin, NFT, Metaverse, everything on this show every single day. What's been happening with the Bitcoin market? Are we going up? Are we going down? Or we're still there? Are we struggling, or we are out of the struggle? Well, everything in this episode. Before we proceed, please do like, share, and subscribe. Now, what's happening with the Bitcoin pricing? Well, we've been stuck at 18,500 to 19,600 or sometimes 20,000 here and there. I mean, we went to 18,100 as well. So, in my opinion, what's happening around the world, we really need to understand what's happening with the Bitcoin pricing. We really need to understand what's happening around the world. And I personally feel that what's happening around the world is something which is known as liquidity crisis. Well, what does this mean exactly? What's happening with liquidity crisis? Well, the borrowing of money has become has been increasing. So the interest rates have been increasing. So borrowing has become more expensive. Now, what has happened is about borrowing has become expensive about 2%, 3%, 4%, and which is a huge deal. And inflation is going up. So you borrow at a higher cost, B, inflation is up, and C, nothing is being printed. So in short, we're here in a liquidity crisis which we had not seen in the longest of times. Now, why do I say this? Well, because since 2008, the easiest way out was printing money, and what happened is we got so used to of economies recovering within a month or two, or maybe 3-4 months, because it was all inflated, or it was all something that was actually not real. So it's something that now what's happening is actually how the economy should be, actually not how we want the economy to be. So try and understand that this is how the economies should be. Inflation will take its time, and I think inflation is here to stay on a in my opinion. And why do I take all these economic factors into these things is because it's related to Bitcoin. I do understand this is a Bitcoin channel, but it's very easy for me to tell you that we're going to 1,00,000 tomorrow, we are going to $5,000 tomorrow, but you have to understand that for us, it's not about that. I gather all these information, I study about these information, and then I make it a point to pass it on to you. Now, if you're watching it, you'll probably see a lot more sense into it rather than just having charts all the way. I mean, trading, you can find thousands of charts. And for me, my trading has always been the simplest of the way. I always see the charts in the simplest way I can. I don't complicate things. And saying that, there would be people who would say, there are so many factors into a chart. Fair enough. But tell me, how many times have they been right? I mean, they've used thousands of indicators. Have they really been right about it? I think the more you complicate, it's like a life. The more you complicate things, the more complicated they become. For me, it's about keeping it simple. A formula known as KISS, which is keep it simple. And this simplicity is something that I personally feel just helps you in everything. I mean, how difficult it is to know if, the house next to you is on fire and you be ignorant that the fire won't come to your house. So this is what is happening around the world. So with liquidity crisis coming in, and India beefing up gold, China beefing up gold, and they are actually throwing away US dollars. And we have not just a war happening in Ukraine and Russia, we also have economic war with that. Now, why do I say economic war is also because of various reasons. Now, again, Iran has actually said that they will be helping Russia into the war. Now, if Iran helps Russia into the war, it might just be the biggest step in this war, because it will escalate things to probably to the maximum it can. Now, again, why? Well, if you think Iran is at war, Iran is not helping Russia. Iran is just helping its own it's basically trying to benefit itself by getting into it and being a, so you have to realize Iran does not like US, Iran does not like Israel. What Iran likes is, I mean, this is a golden opportunity for Iran to rise. And what Iran is doing is just partnering with Russia and with China. So Iran will be a part, in that sense. And if they supply the weapon to it, do you think that Iran would just supply to Russia and that's the end of it? Well, Russia will help them to fight against Israel. And do you think Israel would keep quiet? Of course not. The moment they know that Iran is up to something, Russia will be up and about. Now, Russia works hand in hand with US. So US and Russia, now Israel works hand in hand with the US. So Israel won't keep quiet if Iran gets into in helping Russia or someone. Now what happens next? Well, India has close links with Israel. Now India will need to side with Israel, and I can assure you India will side with Israel. So what does this lead to? Well, this leads to a world war. China is ready to attack Taiwan at any given day. US is saying, I'm going to control Taiwan. So you have to realize that it is a situation which we cannot ignore, even if we are in any kind of business, where in any business we are, it's going to affect any business around the world, not just the Bitcoin pricing. Now, overall, the world gets into a structure where we are kind of heading to a world war, and it does seem that we are pretty much on it. And what will happen is there is a liquidity crisis already, there is inflation, and then there's a war going on. So, and how do you think that these things won't affect any economy? So I personally think inflation is actually here to stay, and this will take a longer time. What about the Bitcoin prices? Well, the Bitcoin price, I think we're kind of breaking up, and we might break up to 24,000, and then I think we'll have a correction. Now, the stock markets would have a bigger correction than actually Bitcoin. So the crypto markets won't have that much of a correction in coming future, because a lot of these things, Ukraine and Russia war did tell us that a lot of money went into Bitcoin. And wherever the uncertainties would increase, you also have to realize people will need a way to protect their money or to put their money into something. This is not what the charts are showing right now. This is just my analysis, what I personally feel and what I've already seen in the war. And saying that if someone is ignorant that the world war won't come, let me tell you something, that the wars have actually always come right after pandemic. So, I mean, check out any world war, and right after a disease or something, we've always seen these wars coming in. So, taking a leaf out of from the past, you can't ignore these things. Saying that the technology is developing, we are getting back on track with technology. There's going to be a development which is happening. There is development happening at the fastest pace. But in terms of pricing, in terms of market, in terms of liquidity, I think we're gonna take time, and I don't think that it's gonna be probably, we're so used to getting back on track in 2 to 3 months or 4 months. I don't think it's gonna be the story this time around. I think we're gonna take time, and the good part about this is, if you take time, it is actually a natural kind of a healing to the economy. And earlier what used to happen is like, it's like a human's body, right? I mean, if you're not well, what happens is you take a medicine or you take a painkiller. Now you take a painkiller, the pain is gone. But the point is, painkiller does not mean that you are actually diagnosing the problem that persists or that exists. Now, what we are doing with the economy is pumping the money, is just like a painkiller. So we use the painkiller, we use the money, put it into the economy, pain is gone. But the problem stays, the disease still stays. It's not that the disease has gone. Now the disease is liquidity crisis, disease is overhyped of the market, disease is, there's so many people who've been lending money. So the disease is much more than just a painkiller. And this is what has happened with the economy, is happening with the economies these days. The pain is actually, the disease is the world war. I mean, how simple it would be just to print money. So what is happening is that the countries have started realizing that the money has been devaluated. And we all know that since past 20 years, if you see how much money has devaluated, is unbelievably, something that I don't think is something a good feeling for anyone around the world. Now, so these things would really affect the economy, would affect the Bitcoin prices, would affect the any financial market. Now, what we see in relation to what's happening is Bitcoin prices are getting less affected right now with S&P or the equity markets. Now, what does that indicate? That indicates that we are somewhere near to the bottom. People will try to save their currency by putting money into cryptos. People will try to save the currencies. If the war is on, people will try to put in money into Bitcoin and all of these things and save themselves and travel and run abroad, which we saw in Ukraine and Russia war, which eventually happened. And Ukraine and Russia, they all started pouring money. And the prices went up. So you have to realize that all of these things eventually are something that we really need to understand carefully and analyze them carefully, because right now we are in a situation where Europe will soon get into the war zone and everyone will have to get into the war zone. I think the step of Iran would escalate things really quickly, and then I expect that all the countries to jump in as soon as possible, because Israel is one force that will not let Iran do that, and Israel will do whatever to counter Iran. And eventually this is what is happening. US has started supplying to has been helping Pakistan now, and lately US is trying to make a close relationship with Pakistan because now China does not want US. So all sorts of things are happening. I think the transfer of supremacy is happening, and I don't think US is anymore a global power in the world in terms of supremacy, because now it would be change of hands and there would be a change of supremacy, and this dollar game would not go on for a longer time. And I think now after 2 months where we see an increase in the interest rate next month and next 2 months, then Jan Feb would be where you would see dollar really declining and coming to a stage where everyone might have to think that now then the currency would start falling. And so that is what is happening with the Bitcoin pricing, with the world economies going down and world war, everything. So be cautious and trade safely. But saying that, with the Bitcoin pricing, I think we're still on a lookout for a breakout. We're trying to knock the 19,500 target and get up around 20,600, and then from there to 24,000 or 25,000, and that's my end kind of prediction. And then what happens is we roll down back again to 15,000 or 13,000. I still stand by my prediction about that pricing, and that might just take a little more time to come in, and that would be, I think, the next year where people would start realizing that there's no more money being printed and liquidity would be a genuine liquidity crisis. So that's all for now, and I hope you're liking the content, and if you're liking the content, please do like, share and subscribe. And if you want to put in money into Bitcoin, start doing DCA, don't go all in. And DCA is the best. It's a bear market, so probably the best thing to do would be DCA. So that's all for now. Signing off, Gunpreet Singh from the Crypto Singh Show. Take care. Bye bye.